In this next section, we will discuss wildlife emergencies involving entrapment, entanglement, and stranding. In many cases, these situations can be remedied by the finder or will require a moderate amount of handling by the public. This part, as well as the previous lessons, must at all times keep the safety of the caller in mind. Each section of this course goes hand in hand with all of the lessons. Safety and liability issues will be covered thoroughly in a later segment. Entrapment comes in many different forms. Each situation will be unique and must be handled differently. Species, age, length of entrapment, and the possibility for injury must all be considered. Getting as much information as you can from the caller is essential to offering proper help and advice. A common entrapment scenario is when an animal falls into a pit and it cannot climb back out. This can be a window well, storm drain, or even a dumpster. An adult animal that is not injured can be helped to escape by the caller. Simply supplying a climbable escape route may be enough to assist the animal. Instruct the caller to place a rough plank, window screen, loosely woven blanket, or other climbable object in the pit, and give the animal time to leave on its own. Make sure to emphasize that the object must reach from floor to top at the slightest angle possible, and that it needs to be anchored securely. Some animals may wait until the cover of darkness to escape, so the area should be avoided. Also, having the person inspect the animal for signs of injury and dehydration from a distance will ensure its health and well-being. Remember, with mammals, squinty eyes, spiky fur, and a sunken appearance can be observed without touching the animal. The same approach can be used to help a duck family escape a swimming pool. Rather than chasing them with nets, which will cause both stress and exhaustion, especially to young babies, an escape route can be supplied. Mother duck will figure it out and lead them to safety. These people had the right idea by floating a lounge chair at the edge of the pool, but chasing the babies only causes mayhem. As you can see, these baby ducks are panicked. Leaving the pool and encouraging and directing the mother does the trick. Babies will follow the mother to safety. Storm drains are death traps for baby ducks. Here, with instructions, the caller can often intervene. Quick action is a must, and traffic can sometimes complicate problems, especially if the mother duck is running around the street in a panic. Local government may have to be called to remove the grate, and possibly for traffic control. Frequently, busy officials and police don't take the situation seriously and don't want to help. Callers in this situation usually care a lot and can be motivated to take action. Here we can encourage the caller to get demanding and proactive with the local street department and police. Suggest that the caller threaten to call the media to get the local officials moving if need be. After the grate has been removed, or the babies have been otherwise extricated, the babies need to be relocated with the mother if she is still in the area. Carrying the babies to a safe location will often find the mother following their cries, or the tall vacuum cleaner box trick you learned earlier works well in this situation. If the mother has abandoned the scene completely, the babies can be transported to the rehabilitation center. Another common form of entrapment is when a hawk flies inside of a building, usually a large store, factory, or warehouse. The bird may have followed prey in through an open window or overhead door and cannot find their way back out. This problem can often be rectified by the caller quickly with a bit of cooperation from the building owner. Here, light is your friend. If the room is darkened and the only light coming in is from the open window or door, the bird will often fly out with prompting. Much of this depends on the building layout, presence of high windows or skylights, and the height of the ceiling. Explain about a bird wanting to fly into the lighted area, and ask the caller for ideas and suggestions for that particular building. Allowing the caller to make several attempts with their newfound knowledge, and instructing the caller to keep in contact with you will have a great impact. If the caller is not successful, assistance may be needed from the rehabilitator and volunteers to actually go out and capture the bird. Sometimes, a trapped animal is not accessible. It's important to know what resources are available and willing to help in your area. Meet with your rehabilitator and volunteers and coordinate your knowledge of who may be contacted during different types of emergencies. Contact local tree trimmers, utility companies, and equipment leasing companies. See if they would be willing to volunteer their time in various types of emergencies. Having a list of willing contacts before they are needed is important. Promise these contacts good PR and possible media coverage when they do help. Also, asking the caller if they know anyone locally may prove helpful. Using the phrase, "Let's get creative," will often encourage the caller to come up with solutions to intervene on the spot. Entanglement usually requires the animal be brought to the rehabilitator. Animals entangled in fishing line or other litter, such as this bat entangled in kite string, are often injured. The caller should not just cut the animal loose and set it free. Attempts at removing the entanglement may result in the person getting injured and may cause the animal's condition to deteriorate. An animal may need to be anesthetized to remove the entanglement. Pain and suffering should always be considered when giving the caller instructions. Placing an animal as is in a dark box will calm it down until it arrives at the center or veterinarian's office for proper treatment. When tourniquets are removed, blood clots that have formed can flow to the brain or other body organs. Tourniquets may also need to be removed under anesthesia to save the animal from extreme pain, fear, and shock. Removal should be left to a medical professional. Again, the caller should be directed to place the animal in a dark box and handle it quietly and gently. Much depends on whether the entanglement is immediately life-threatening. If the entanglement restricts blood flow to the head or the animal's breathing, death may result. Having the caller relieve the restriction without removing it completely can alleviate the immediate danger. In the case of this vulture, the finder became very creative. Unable to remove the trap, a stick was placed in its jaws to remove tension from the bird's neck. Otherwise, the bird would not have made it into rehabilitation alive. Sometimes an animal is trapped, intentionally or unintentionally, and the caller will contact you for removal because they now don't know how to proceed or are afraid of the animal. People who trap feral cats sometimes catch skunks and raccoons. This can be scary for the trapper, but with a bit of advice, they usually can release the animal safely. Instruct the caller that they need 3 tools: thick leather gloves to protect their hands, a plastic tarp, tablecloth, or sheet, and a wire twist tie like the ones on a loaf of bread. Wearing the gloves, approach the trap with the plastic sheet held in front of you. This protects from possible spray. Drape the sheet over the trap, exposing only the door. With gloves on, open the door and secure it open with the wire tie. Walk away, pulling the sheet with you, and leave. The animal will leave the trap when it feels safe. Glue traps are always a true emergency. How this situation is handled by the finder will have an immediate impact on the animal's future. If the caller attempts to remove the animal, skin usually rips and the animal will die. This is one area where I ask the caller to begin treatment before transport. Applying a non-toxic cooking oil to the remaining glue trap will help keep the animal from embedding itself further. Ask the caller to not attempt to remove the animal, but only to lightly coat the glue to disable it. Then transport right away. The oil should not be placed directly on the animal, only to the glue trap to disable the glue. The same advice applies to fly strips that often capture small birds and bats. Animals covered in tar can be pre-treated by the caller the same way. Birds will sometimes land on fresh, soft tar, and their feet become stuck. As they attempt to free themselves, feathers will become coated until the bird is encased. If this bird is picked up, it will most likely stick to hands and skin, the bedding, and the box, anything it touches. Again, a light coating of oil on the tar will keep the situation from becoming worse, and will also begin to liquefy the tar, making removal at the Wildlife Center easier. These birds can come in singly or in numbers. We once received a flock of 48 wrens that landed on a freshly tarred roof. An animal's own physiology can strand the animal and render it helpless. Such is the case with loons and grebes, water birds with legs and feet placed far back on the body. Built for swimming, not walking, these birds may mistake a wet roadway or parking lot for open water and, once on the ground, become stranded. The bird may be uninjured and just need to be placed in an open river or lake, but a hard, unexpected landing may also have caused unseen injuries to the breastbone, feet, and pelvis. Such a bird should be taken to the rehabilitator for examination, who can then release or treat the bird as needed. Each situation is different, and common sense needs to be applied. Such is the call involving any animal too dangerous for an untrained person to handle. Resources need to be readily available for calls that need professional, experienced intervention. Capture and transport volunteers, animal control officers, or the rehabilitator may wish to visit the site for extrication and transport. And this brings us to the issue of safety. Our next segment will go into detail about your role in keeping everyone safe. The caller, your organization, you, and of course, the animal.